The COMAC C919 isn't just a new jet, it's a direct challenge to Boeing and Airbus. And Ryanair, Europe's biggest low-cost carrier, might be the first Western airline to seriously consider flying it. In this deep dive, we explore Ryanair's potential move towards China's COMAC C919, a narrow-body designed to rival the Boeing 737 MAX, and possibly change the economics of budget aviation forever. Ryanair CEO Michael O'Leary, speaking to industry publication Skift, said, "I don't care who makes them, as long as the price is right, we'd buy it." But is this genuine interest or just another O'Leary power play? We break down what makes the C919 so compelling, the certification and trust hurdles it faces in Europe, and how this could signal the beginning of China's aviation expansion into the West. The future of your ticket price and Boeing's dominance could hinge on what happens next. What you're looking at isn't a Ryanair Boeing 737, it's what the future could look like if Ryanair orders and starts to operate the COMAC C919. Europe's largest budget airline is eyeing up China's COMAC C919, a direct competitor to the Boeing 737s that have been Ryanair's backbone for decades. Is this the beginning of China's aviation takeover in Europe, or just another one of Michael's infamous negotiation tactics to squeeze Boeing for better deals? The answer might surprise you, and it matters more than you think. Let me put it this way, the future of budget air travel and your ticket prices could depend on what happens next. Before we dive into this aviation chess game, let's understand what makes Ryanair such a powerhouse. When you think of budget air travel in Europe, Ryanair is the undisputed king. With over 600 aircraft connecting hundreds of destinations, they've transformed how Europeans travel. Weekend trips to Barcelona or Rome that once seemed extravagant are now commonplace. But here's the thing, Ryanair's success isn't magic, it's ruthless efficiency. Their strategy is brilliantly simple. Use one type of aircraft, pack in as many seats as possible, turn planes around quickly, and keep costs brutally low. The result? Ticket prices that sometimes cost less than your taxi to the airport. And at the heart of this strategy is their fleet of Boeing 737s. Think about it. When every aircraft in your fleet is essentially identical, everything becomes streamlined. Pilot training, maintenance, spare parts, even the way your cabin crew operate, it's all standardized. Currently, about a third of Ryanair's fleet consists of Boeing's newer 737 MAX 8200 variant, which they've nicknamed the Game Changer. These planes carry 197 passengers, they're 4% more fuel efficient than older models, and they reduce noise by an impressive 40%. So why would Ryanair even consider breaking their perfect Boeing ecosystem? The answer's simple. It comes down to the man who built this empire, Michael O'Leary. Do you really want to charge to use toilets on Ryanair airplanes? Yes or no? Yes, but not because I want the money. If you followed the aviation news, you know O'Leary. He doesn't mince words. He's the CEO who once proposed charging passengers to use the bathroom and suggested standing seats to fit more people on planes. But behind the outrageous sound bites is one of the shrewdest business minds in aviation. Speaking to industry publication Skift, here's what he said recently. "I don't care who makes them, whether it's Boeing, Airbus, or COMAC, as long as the price is right, we'd buy it." This isn't the first time he's flirted with Chinese aircraft. Back in 2011, Ryanair actually signed an agreement with COMAC to provide input on designing new aircraft, particularly focusing on high-density seat configurations. But is this latest interest genuine or just O'Leary playing Boeing like a fiddle? Picture this. Boeing's been struggling with production delays for its 737 MAX program. Ryanair's expansion plans are literally sitting on the tarmac, waiting for aircraft that aren't arriving. What better way to pressure Boeing than to publicly court their emerging rival? Yet what if there's more to this story? What if the C919 actually makes financial sense for Ryanair? That brings us to the aircraft that could change everything, the COMAC C919. Well, it represents something historic. China's first serious attempt to break into the commercial aviation market dominated by the Western duopoly of Boeing and Airbus. But here's what most people don't realize. This isn't some knockoff. The C919 is purpose-built to compete directly with the Boeing 737 and Airbus A320, the workhorses of short and medium-haul flights worldwide. Let's break down what makes the C919 a potential game changer. First, it can carry between 158 and 192 passengers depending on the configuration, which is perfectly aligned with Ryanair's high-density seating strategy. Second, it has a range of 5,500 kilometers, more than enough for any of Ryanair's European routes. For context, London Stansted to Faro is about 1,800 kilometers. But the real kicker? The price tag. While exact figures aren't public, industry analysts believe the C919 is priced significantly below comparable Boeing and Airbus models. You're probably thinking, if it's so great, why hasn't Ryanair already ordered some? The answer is surprisingly complex. Have you ever considered what it takes to introduce a completely new aircraft type to a massive airline operation? It's not just about buying planes. Right now, the C919 has only been delivered to Chinese airlines. China Eastern operates about 10 of them, primarily on domestic routes. No C919 is currently flying for an international airline yet. And this brings us to the elephant in the room: trust and certification. For any aircraft to fly in European skies, it needs to be certified by the European Union Aviation Safety Agency, or EASA. As of today, the C919 doesn't have it. COMAC first applied for EASA certification in 2019, but the pandemic put things on hold. They've restarted the process, aiming for approval by 2026. But here's where geopolitics enters the picture. As tensions between China and Western nations intensify, what should be a technical certification process becomes politically charged. Could these tensions add years to the C919 certification timeline? Think about it from a passenger perspective. Would you feel comfortable flying on a Chinese-built aircraft that's new to Western markets? Would pilots, cabin crew, and maintenance teams embrace this change? These are the human factors that numbers on a specification sheet simply can't capture. But let's assume for a moment that the C919 overcomes these hurdles. What would Ryanair really gain? If there's one thing that Michael O'Leary understands better than anyone, it's the brutal mathematics of budget air travel. Every cent matters. There are three key factors driving Ryanair's interest in the C919. First and most obvious, cost savings. If the C919 is substantially cheaper than Boeing's offerings, the math starts looking interesting. And let's not forget the Chinese government heavily subsidizes its aviation industry. Special incentives for a high-profile European customer? Not out of the question. Have you considered what this might mean for your ticket prices? If Ryanair's aircraft costs drop significantly, some of those savings could translate to even lower fares. Here's the second factor: Boeing's supply chain issues. Ryanair ordered dozens of 737 MAX aircraft that are months or even years behind schedule. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's directly limiting Ryanair's growth. As O'Leary bluntly put it, Boeing needs to get its act together. Yeah, he actually said that. The third factor? Well, it might be the most strategic: supplier diversification. Right now, Ryanair is completely dependent on Boeing. If something goes catastrophically wrong, like the 737 MAX grounding a few years ago, they've got no alternatives. Adding COMAC to their fleet, even in small numbers, would give O'Leary unprecedented leverage in future negotiations with Boeing. But the question remains, is the C919 ready for prime time in European skies?